Hello, welcome to Health Scope. My name is Teresa McCabe. I'm a public health educator for Niagara County Department of Health, Environmental Health Division, and I am the manager of the Healthy Neighborhoods program. Today we are going to be talking about something that is extremely important for everyone, especially during the winter months. We're going to be talking about the false sense of security that many people have regarding their health and safety in the winter months. I'm very pleased today to have Jonathan Schultz with me. Jonathan Schultz is the Director of Emergency Services and the Fire Coordinator for Niagara County. Jonathan and I today will be discussing many health and safety precautions that you need to take as a resident, whether you are a homeowner or a renter, especially during our winter months. So welcome to Health Scope.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me today. It's great to be here. It's a great topic to be discussing today. You know, the safety going into the winter months and everything else. This is so important, you know. Being in the emergency services for over 23 years in the fire service, I can tell you we see a lot of things this time of the year through the winter months and the spring, many things happening. And this is a great topic to bring to our residents and start discussing today and look into their safety and making sure everyone's safe through the holidays.
If we could just eliminate the ignorance factor,
yeah, well,
we would have so many less accidents, wouldn't you think?
Oh, I tell you what, if you could eliminate the ignorance, it'd be amazing what would happen to see the call numbers drop for our fire services, not just in our county, but across the nation. But so many times, so often, people don't really think about it. They just act because, you know, something needs to be done and they want to do it, and they don't think about the consequences that could come afterwards. And really, just a little common sense could go so far.
Absolutely. So when I teach in the community, and you and I both know because we both do our fair share of teaching, I discuss what I call the false sense of security. I say oftentimes you have a very false sense of security. You think that you are all there and all prepared, and there are so many factors that are coming into play that you're not necessarily aware of. And I know one of the big problems during the winter months is carbon monoxide poisoning. Now, most people know that it is the law to have a carbon monoxide detector in their homes, but many people don't know that there is a date on the back of their detector. Would you like to discuss that a little bit?
So many people don't have carbon monoxide detectors. It's amazing today, after, you know, you hear time and time again about unfortunate circumstances where family members die, or some cases you have multiple family members that are killed because of carbon monoxide. And it's amazing today that
yes,
they're very cheap for what they do and the lives they can save. And people, you know, they come in a package, very simple directions, and so often they open the package up and, you know, they cut it, they plug it in, or they put it on the wall, and they really don't pay attention to what the directions say. And it's so important to look at those 5, 6, 7, 12 steps that manufacturers recommend. You know, we all think we're experts, but really, you know, we need to take the time, the couple minutes that it'll take to actually look into that and make sure we're doing everything properly.
Let's discuss the date on the back.
Now,
would you like to talk about
absolutely,
that?
Absolutely. You know, you've got to look at carbon monoxide detectors. You know, they come with different time frames depending on the manufacturer, how they're manufactured, and the like. And it's very important to look at those dates when you purchase your carbon monoxide detector, based on the UL listing that they have and the testing they're going to go. Some range from 2 to 3 years up to 5 years, and it's so important to make sure you know when you buy them. On the back of the CO detectors will have a date of manufacture, so you know that when the time comes, if that starts beeping, you know, it's been a couple of years, you don't remember when you got it, when you put it in place, to pull it off, look at that date, because it's amazing how fast 2, 3, 4, 5 years can go by.
Yes.
And, you know, look at those carbon monoxide detectors, and if the date's due, you know, replace that, or if it's brand new and, you know, a couple months in or a year later, you know, should never hesitate to call if it's going off, to reach out to 911 to bring the fire department out to do a check, you know, because you got to remember that carbon monoxide, it's odorless and colorless, and you won't know sometimes till it's too late.
Absolutely. Some of the symptoms for carbon monoxide poisoning, it's very flu-like. If you take the batteries out of your carbon monoxide detector, or if your carbon monoxide detector is dead, the sensor is what deteriorates. So that date is on the back to tell you when that detector was manufactured. By 5 years, usually the sensor is deteriorated. It's no longer going to be working. The whole family's starting to feel achy, headaches, nausea, vomiting, general malaise. Yes, you could all have the flu, but there's a very good chance that you have carbon monoxide poisoning. Your detector will go off before it gets to a lethal level, but if your detector is not working properly, you're getting close to that manufacturer date, like Chief Schultz has said, please call 911, call the fire department, and don't wait until morning.
Right.
That is a
Yes.
critical mistake, wouldn't you say?
So many people are afraid, well, I don't want to bother the firefighters, you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I really don't, you know, I don't want to bother anybody, I don't want to hassle them, you know what, it's not that big of a deal. That's why the firefighters are here. We're here to protect lives, you know, public safety, and to come out. It takes a couple minutes for the fire department to come out, do a quick sweep of the house, you know, check your detector, hopefully it's nothing with the detector, or hopefully there's nothing in the house. You know, anything like that. And some important things to remember so many times in the case when the carbon monoxide detectors go off, right away people want to open windows and doors. You want to remember, don't do that.
Don't do that.
You know, if it's a newer carbon monoxide detector, it's going off. Some now today have numbers on them that actually show the levels of the CO within the house. If you see a reading on there, you know, get yourself, get your family, get your pets out of the house, wait outside in the vehicle. If it's cold, snowing, whatever it might be, go next door, but leave the house closed up. That way when the fire department comes, they can go into the house. It'll make it much easier to find that source of where that carbon monoxide leak is coming, if there is a leak, or actually if there's a problem, if there isn't a problem. Because so often, you open the windows, you open the doors, if there is carbon monoxide in the house, and, you know, in the winter months, we usually have a breeze going on, it'll quickly eliminate that carbon monoxide from the residents.
Absolutely. And again, the false sense of security. Some people tell me, well, I have a boiler. Your boiler is probably heated by gas. So it can be any source of fuel burning. We are talking about kerosene heaters, gas, your gas stove, your gas dryer, oil furnaces, any place where fuel is burning. Which reminds me, when there's a power outage, should somebody be bringing a hibachi or a little grill into the house?
No, there's so many times you hear stories of people, you know, they bring hibachis in the house, they'll open their gas range or their gas stove up to help heat the house in the winter months because they don't have the power. You don't want to do these things. You know, it goes back to that common sense. You know, yes, if you're cold, put some extra layers on. If it looks like it's going to be a long period of time, maybe go to someone else's house for the warmth that might have a generator. You don't want to do those things. A lot of times people have generators. And in the case of generators, if we're going to be using generators, which is great, gives us the power, gives us the heat, we want to make sure those are outside, away from the residents. So often we'll go, you know, you'll hear about fire departments going on calls where a generator will be outside in the garage, you know, because they don't want the generator to get wet, they don't want it to get snowy. You know what? They're designed to be built to get wet. They're designed to have snow on them. They're designed to run out in the elements. You know, get a cord, be at least 15 feet away from the house. You know, you want to be away from the house for your safety.
And you also have to check the wind factor. You can be 15 feet away from the house, you can be 20 feet away from the house, but if the wind changes direction, you have to keep track of the way the wind is blowing. If the wind is blowing toward your house, the fumes from the generator will blow into the house, under the doors, into the garage. Another bad habit, if the power goes off, people get into the car and they turn on the heat for a while with the garage doors closed.
Yes.
That's a very dumb thing to do. We're going to call it what it is. It's a dumb thing.
It's very dumb. You know, it's a quick way to get warm in the wintertime. You know, when it's 0 degrees and we all know it's coming. You know, snow's coming this weekend.
Power's
the next
out.
couple weeks. You know, power's out, and you know you can go hop in the car. You know, the wife, the kids, and 5 minutes you're warmed back up. But I'll tell you what, that 5 minutes of that car running in that garage is enough to make you sick and actually bring that carbon monoxide into the house, and it's not worth doing it. Not at all.
Yes. Several years ago, there was a young girl, her name was Amanda Hansen. Amanda Hansen was at a sleepover, very nice home, and the furnace malfunctioned, and this young girl died from carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yes.
And it's tragic. So tragic. Her parents have founded the Amanda Hansen Foundation, which oftentimes provides carbon monoxide detectors to people. But you know, these things are on sale everywhere, especially at this time of the year. And as Jonathan Schultz has told us, they're not that expensive. They're lasting 5 years. If you break down a $20 investment, you know, over a 5-year period, it's like $4 a year. Folks.
Yeah, you know,
not that expensive.
The investment is so worth it.
It is.
You know, there's really no reason to not have a carbon monoxide detector today. If you can't afford them, there's opportunities to reach out. Some fire departments within the county do provide them. Red Cross has programs that can help get you a carbon monoxide or a smoke detector if you can't afford it. So there's many opportunities to purchase these. You know, it's for your safety, it's for your family's safety, it's for everyone within your home, your apartment, wherever it is. You want to have that. You
Absolutely.
want to make sure you have that.
Our program so often finds that, again, people, just the way you said, they open them up and they plug them in or mount them on the wall. And where do we find them? We find them right next to the furnace. and that's not where they go, is it?
Yeah, you'll find them right next to the furnace. You'll find them in the kitchen right above the stove. You'll find them in the basement next to, I mean, you'll find them in places that it doesn't make sense.
And if you can only have one, where do they go?
Really, the best place is right outside the sleeping quarters.
Thank you.
If you have 2 or 3 bedrooms somewhere in that area in a hallway, would be the best place to have it. It really makes sense. Because that way, if you're sleeping and something malfunctions within your residence during that evening, that night, it warns you, so you know.
Yes, because people will not hear it if the basement door is closed and if it's downstairs. So that's all really good information. So please buy your carbon monoxide detector, look at the date at the back, know that's when it was manufactured, add usually 5 years to it. Look at your box, look at your directions, and see how long your detector is going to last. And pay attention to that. Always keep an extra set of batteries handy for them if you have a battery-operated carbon monoxide detector. We're going to move on to fire safety, and let's just piggyback on that. Your smoke detector also has a date of manufacture on the back. Most smoke detectors are good for 10 years, but lately I've seen some that are only good for 3. So you have to know what you have, read the back, and if you don't know, this is a great time to replace them because what's coming out now?
Oh, you got, starting in January, it's a 10-year, all manufacturers will be producing and selling 10-year smoke detectors. That's the new policy going forward. They'll all be doing that. They're enclosed and packaged with the battery. You can't take the battery out. The battery that's in it won't work for your TV remote. It won't work for your stereo. It won't do anything you need. It's a special battery just for smoke detectors. It's a great thing we're going towards, which over time it'll take people obviously within their homes to get to these. People need to remember with the ones that have in their household at this time, if they're battery operated with that 9-volt or the AA, you want to be changing those batteries at least once a year. And if you happen to pull the battery out because you want to use it for your smoke detector, for your TV remote or anything like that, that shouldn't be done. You know, you need to keep it in there. It's for your safety. It's for everyone's safety in your house.
Yes. Sometimes somebody will pull a battery out and the rest of the family doesn't know, and then someone else pulls another battery out and no one knows. And so there's a house fire and there's no working detectors.
Yes.
And that's tragic.
Yes. We see that very often, unfortunately, in the fire service, not only in Niagara County, but across the nation. You'll read about stories where there was smoke detectors in the residence, multiple smoke detectors in the residence, and the batteries were removed. People sometimes, you know, when a battery gets low, what does your smoke detector do? It beeps. So people get annoyed with the beeping because it is annoying, because it's telling you there's a problem. And a quick thing they do is pop it out, pop the battery out, put it back up. And then, you know, we're all busy in our lives today, and you forget about it. You know, a day goes by, 2 days, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, and it's just there, and you don't pay attention to it. And in the unfortunate event of a fire, you know, that's your first warning device. You want to maintain that. It's so important to have those smoke detectors working. It's so important to make sure they're doing, you know, you should be testing them once a month. You know, so many people don't do that because it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet up in the air from you. It's hard to get to, you know, press that button. The beeping is loud, you know, and most manufacturers recommend at least once a month.
You can check them with a broom handle.
Absolutely.
And another nice feature is that you can buy smoke detectors with a silence feature on them. Our program uses smoke detectors with a silence feature, which means if it goes off because you burn the toast, you can just take your broom handle and push the button. It shuts off the beeping, and the smoke detector automatically resets in 5 minutes. So it's a very nice feature. A lot of people, again, just pull the smoke detectors out of the box and stick them up. But there is a dead air zone. Will you explain to our viewers what a dead air zone is, please?
Everyone thinks put it at the highest point. You know, many of our homes and apartments have vaulted ceiling, peak ceilings, and they think, okay, it's the highest point. I'm going to stick it right in that highest point I can. That way I catch this where the smoke's going to go first. It's going to warn me. I'll be safe. And what you don't realize is when we get to those peak ceilings, actually there's no air movement at all. So believe it or not, which is very surprising, the smoke won't even get to that smoke detector. You want to be down, you know, a good 30 inches, anywhere from at least a foot down and further down. So that way when the smoke's coming up into that vaulted ceiling, it'll actually go past the smoke detector and warn you. It'll set it off and warn you. You know, so many people just put it up, ready to go, and it goes back to just like our carbon monoxide detectors. You know, you don't want to put it above your stove, you know, right next to the furnace, because sometimes you have blow off. People have windows open when they're cooking, things like that. It'll automatically set off the smoke detectors, and then we get annoyed with them, and we want to start pulling batteries.
Yes, the directions on detectors are usually quite large, written in several languages, and a lot of disclaimers. But if you really look, they usually always have information on placement, even if you hang your smoke detector on the wall. If it's too close to the